Yaya Mikhail, the reflection of a perfect world on Earth. If there is a place where beings live in peace, harmony, and perfect tranquility, then I now understand why this world, where we are, is filled with chaos, war, and suffering. This realization leads me to understand that the supposed world of constant peace and harmony must be sustained by a place where all errors, failures, and chaos are transferred. However, the consequences of those errors do not manifest there. Instead, they manifest here, on Earth. We, as created beings, are the ones who experience the errors and flaws of a supposedly perfect world. Energy itself does not disappear, it only transforms. If a realm desires to sustain only positive energy, it must place its negative energy somewhere else, because energy cannot be destroyed, only moved. Our brain, the logical part of our being, helps us understand reasons and processes, but it does not generate emotions. Emotions come from other organs in our body, which release hormones that allow us to feel and experience sensations. When the brain encounters overwhelming energy, it transfers it to the heart. If the heart cannot bear the burden, it spreads the energy throughout the body, causing tremors. Just as an individual can shake under pressure, so too can the earth. This energy transfer affects the entire world, leading to war, hunger, and destruction. It is not because humans alone are responsible, but because another world, a world of intelligence and spiritual perfection, refuses to hold on to its own errors. Instead, it transfers them to Earth. Rather than acknowledging their own faults, they blame humanity, claiming we are responsible for the chaos, while they remain untouched by imperfection. There was once a perfect kingdom, a place of endless love, joy, and harmony. No one knew pain, no one knew suffering, and evil did not exist. The Creator, the ruler of this kingdom, gathered the elders and shared all things with them, his wisdom, his power, his plans. Nothing was ever hidden. But then one day, the Creator did something strange. He closed off a place, a forbidden region known as the Blue Point, and forbade anyone from entering. The elders, confused, questioned among themselves. Why? Why would he keep this place from us? What is there that we are not allowed to see? And doubt began to grow. Some whispered, could this be where the Creator gains all his knowledge, his power? What is he hiding? Their curiosity became unbearable. The Creator, knowing their thoughts, finally spoke. You do not belong there. It is not for you. But the elders refused to accept this answer. Take us there, Lord. Show us what lies beyond. Let us see for ourselves why you say it is not good. The Creator looked at them long and hard. Then he said, very well. You will enter that world, but not as you are. You will take on new bodies. You will live in that place, and you will know what it means to suffer. You will experience what is not good for 7 lifetimes. Only then will you understand. The elders, blinded by their desire for knowledge, agreed. They thought nothing of his warning. And so they entered. In an instant, they were no longer divine. They were weak, mortal. And the world they had longed to see was nothing like their home. They felt hunger for the first time, pain, fear, betrayal, sickness, war, death. They watched as love turned into hate, as knowledge was burned, as kindness was punished. They tried to remember who they were, but the world consumed them. They lived, they suffered, they died, only to be reborn and endure it all over again. 7 times, 7,000 years. Then, at last, their punishment ended. They returned to the Creator, but they were no longer the same. Their spirits, once proud and curious, were now broken. They fell to their knees and wept. Lord, we understand now. That world, it is not good. It is filled with pain, with cruelty. We sought love, but we found hate. We sought peace, but we found war. We sought wisdom, but it was burned before our eyes. We were betrayed, hunted, enslaved, and abandoned. That place is not good, Lord. Take us back, take us home. The Creator looked at them with sorrow. I told you it was not good, but I was always there, even when you did not see me. I left you signs, I sent you guidance, and yet you rejected me, just as that world rejected you. Silence. Then the elders, overwhelmed, fell prostrate before him. They wept, they begged for forgiveness, and finally they understood. Great are you, O Lord, in all things you are wise. And so they bowed before the Creator, giving thanks in the name of their ancestors, forever changed by what they had learned. The second part, when the created met the Creator. This is the second part of the story of how the created beings met their creator. The first question arose, why did the creator go to the blue point? The elders, curious about this, decided to experience it for themselves. When they entered, they discovered a material world, a realm governed by duality, good and evil, light and darkness. When they returned to their original world, all the spirits gathered around, eager to hear their story. The elders sat in a circle and began to recount their experience. They explained that thousands of spirits had been chosen to enter the blue dot, now known as Earth, the land of the dead. They were divided into groups. Some entered in pairs, others in threes, others in fours, while a separate group remained outside to observe those who had entered. Then came the moment when each one had to step through a door into this material world. The doors opened, and they passed through sacred time, but as they entered, the doors slowly began to close. At first they could still leave, but soon it became impossible to return. Those who remained outside said to them, "The time has come. You will be born there, and as you are born into that world, you will die here." The spirits could not understand. Born? How can we be born there? If we exist here, how can we die? But they were told, once you are born there, you will cease to exist here. You will forget everything from this world, and your new reality will be what you experience there. They protested, "But why must we forget? We want to remember." But the answer was simple. It is not a choice. Once the door closes, memory fades. You will not even remember how to communicate with us. The spirits asked, "But if we forget everything, how will we know who we are?" The answer was chilling. You won't. You will believe that the material world is all there is. You will live and die there, thinking it is the only reality. This is why Earth is called the land of the dead. Those who live there do not remember who they are. They think they are alive, but in truth, they are dead because they have lost their memory of the true world. The spirits in the circle were in awe. "Tell us more. What happened next?" The elders continued. "When we left the material world, we experienced two great pains. The first was the pain of physical death, the body itself breaking down, a deep suffering that was unbearable. But the second pain was even worse, the pain of realizing that we were falling into oblivion, the fear of ceasing to exist. In that world, no one was sure what came after death. They lived with doubt, ignorance, and fear. They had no memory of the truth, no knowledge of where they had come from. And when death came, the shock of reality was overwhelming. But the moment they left their physical bodies, they saw something that shook them to their core. They saw their bodies lying on the ground, but they themselves were standing beside them, separate from the flesh they once called their own. Suddenly, all their memories returned. They remembered who they were, where they came from, and what they had forgotten. At that moment, we understood. We had not truly died. We had only been trapped in an illusion. The body was just a vessel, and when we left it behind, we returned to our true essence. The spirits listening were astonished. "So, when you left that world, you were considered dead there, just as when you entered, you were considered dead here." "Exactly. To them, we died, but to you, we returned home. Just as when we first left here, we ceased to exist in this world, and when we returned, we ceased to exist in theirs." The spirits now understood the cycle of existence. Those who enter the material world forget their origins, and those who leave it regain their true knowledge. As the elders finished their story, the spirits were left in awe. "Tell us more," they cried. "But thank you for sharing this with us. We now understand." And with that, the knowledge of the blue dot, the world of matter, the land of the dead, was passed down once again. The boy who searched for God. Once, in a small African village, there lived a boy who became obsessed with a single question: who is God? He had heard the elders speak of a mighty God, one who was visible and invisible at the same time, one who spoke, one who held all power. But why had he never seen him? Why did only the elders speak of him? The boy's curiosity consumed him. He needed to see this God with his own eyes. He needed to hear his voice. One day he made a decision. He would not wait for the elders to tell him stories. He would find God himself. He packed his things and left his home, stepping into the unknown. Through forests, over hills, and across rivers he wandered. He arrived at a distant village and asked, Where can I find the mighty God, the one who is both visible and invisible, the one who speaks? The villagers looked at him strangely and said, "We do not know. Maybe the next village can help you." He walked on, weary but determined. At the next village he asked again, "Where can I find this God?" The elders there smiled. "You have come to the right place," they said, "but first help us cut these trees. We are building a house. Once you are done, we will show you." The boy worked hard, his hands blistered, his muscles aching. When he finished, he asked, "Now will you show me?" "Just a little more," they said. "Help us dig a well. Water is far away." He dug and dug, the sun burning his back. "Now?" he pleaded. "Almost," they said. "Help us plant these fields, and then we will take you." Exhausted but desperate, he labored on, his body trembling with fatigue. Finally, when the crops were planted, he turned to them. "Now?" The elders looked at him and said, "There are lions that sometimes enter the village and attack the weak. If you are truly strong, go and face one. Then you will see God." The boy froze. He had come so far, but now, standing at the edge of the village, he felt something he hadn't before, fear. His body ached. His spirit wavered. He stumbled to a tree and collapsed beneath it, exhausted, lost, and questioning everything. An elder, who had watched everything in silence, stepped forward. His voice was calm but powerful. "Tell me, where did you first hear of this God?" The boy looked up, confused. "From my grandparents." "And where are they?" "At home." The elder nodded. "Then why did you leave to search for something you already had?" The boy's breath caught. His mind raced. He had traveled so far, worked so hard, suffered so much, but all this time had he been searching for something that was never lost? "The God you seek was always with you," the elder said. "You heard him in the voices of your parents. You saw him in the love of your family. You felt him in the hands that raised you. Honor your father and your mother, for through them you honor the Creator." The boy sat in silence as the truth washed over him like a flood. He had left his home, thinking he would find answers in distant lands. But God had been with him all along. And so, without another word, he rose to his feet, turned around, and began the journey home, wiser than before. Analyzing the definition, God is light. Many people define God as light, but what does that truly mean? Is it meant literally or symbolically? If we say it is symbolic, then light must represent something tangible, something that carries meaning. Just as a company's logo is a symbol of its identity, the idea of light must stand for something specific. But if we claim that God is light, then we are not speaking symbolically, we are speaking literally. So if God is literally light, then where does he shine? Is he the light of the sun? No. Is he the light of the stars? No. Is he the light of the moon? No. Then what kind of light is he? If we say God is light, then we must define what light truly is. Light is something that illuminates. It exists in contrast to darkness. The very definition of light assumes the presence of darkness, because light shines in the midst of darkness. But if God is light, then that means darkness also exists. And if darkness exists, then the question arises, who or what is darkness? Some may argue that darkness is merely the absence of light, just as cold is the absence of heat. But this argument collapses when we analyze it further. If darkness is simply the absence of light, then that would mean light existed first. But in every ancient tradition and even in scientific theories of creation, darkness existed before light. This means that darkness is not just the absence of light, it is a force of its own. If God is light and darkness also exists, then there must be another force, the force of darkness. Throughout history, different cultures have named these forces: Amun-Ra, Olodumare, Mara, the father of the negative. If these two forces exist, then they are both necessary for creation. Humanity manifests both light and darkness. Good exists, but so does evil. Both of these forces have always been present. At the meeting point between light and darkness, a new state emerges: the twilight, the half-light, the balance. And this twilight is creation itself. We as human beings are not purely light nor purely darkness. We are both. In this context, the definition of God as light becomes complicated. If God is light, then does darkness cease to exist? No, because both must exist for creation to manifest. Light alone is not unique. Darkness must also be acknowledged. In the same way that masculine and feminine, positive and negative, mother and father exist, so do light and darkness, two great forces that balance each other. So is God only light, or is there more to understand? The answer is deeper than a simple definition. Light exists, but so does darkness, and between them, creation is born. Are we spiritual beings? Greetings, my people. Today I want to take you through a simple exercise to help us understand whether we are truly spiritual beings. To do this, we will start with something we already know, the five senses. These senses, or as I like to call them, five sensors, are tools that allow us to perceive the world. They receive stimuli and transmit information to the brain. But who is it that actually receives this information? Let's analyze this. If you say, I have a body, it means the body belongs to you. But if the body belongs to you, then you cannot be the body. You are something separate from it. Now let's go deeper. We store information in our mind, our thoughts, our memories. If I show you an image, you can recall it in your mind. But how do you see that image inside your head? You only have two physical eyes, yet you can visualize something even when your eyes are closed. So, who is seeing inside your mind? The same applies to sound. You can hear music in your head, even when there is no external sound. But you only have two physical ears, so who is hearing the music inside your mind? And when you speak to yourself internally, when you think, who is speaking? If your physical mouth is closed, yet you are talking to yourself inside, who is producing those words? Who is listening to them? This leads us to a deep realization. The body is not you. The thoughts are not you. You are something beyond them. You are the one who sees, hears, and thinks from within. If you are not the body and not the thought, then who are you? You are a spiritual being living inside a physical body. Your body is your house, but it is not your essence. You exist within it, but you are not confined by it. The five senses receive information from the external world, but it is the spirit inside you that perceives and analyzes it. Your body is the material tool, but you, the real you, are beyond the physical. This is why thoughts become reality. A thought is something from the higher spiritual dimension. When you act upon it, you bring it into the material world. Spirits influence the physical world through ideas. When you manifest an idea, you are materializing something that first existed in the spiritual realm. This is the fundamental truth. You are not your body. You are the spirit within it. Subscribe, share, and join our community. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video with others seeking knowledge and spiritual awakening. Yay Mikkel Masa.